We are at the forefront of many innovative and exciting things developing in the world of senior living. With Tim Mallad, CEO of Forefront Living, as our guide, this show will shine a light on how older adults can embrace these changes to live active, happy, fulfilling, and thriving lives. Through discussions with senior living and hospice professionals, architects and designers, and people of all ages, will help today's seniors envision the art of the possible and take steps toward achieving the future of their dreams. Welcome to At the Forefront.
Hello, I'm Tim Mallad, CEO of Forefront Living, and welcome to At the Forefront. Throughout the last several years, and increasingly so, recruitment has been a discussion item at many levels throughout the services we provide, both in senior living and hospice, and the not only the difficulties in recruitment, but being able to inspire the next generation of professionals to embrace serving individuals who are either in the later years of life, or in the case we're going to talk about today, at the end of life. Forefront Living offers a vast array of services and a very large continuum that begins with the most independent of settings in residential independent living through inpatient hospice care. Today we're going to talk about the hospice side of what we do, and in particular, recruiting individuals to work in hospice. I'm very excited today to have the medical director for Faith Presbyterian Hospice with us. To my far right, Dr. Michael Bond, and Dan Naegeli to my immediate right, who is the executive director of the Healthcare Experience Institute of Dallas. So Dr. Bond, welcome back. Dan, welcome
here. Thank you.
For your first time. Both Dr. Bond and Dan are co-workers of mine. And Forefront Living, and in particular Faith Presbyterian Hospice, is entering into a new partnership to do something different, to do something transformative on the recruitment side of hospice. So Dr. Bond, can you tell us a little bit about what we're doing and the inspiration for what we're doing?
Sure. So Greenville University is a small Christian liberal arts school in Southern Illinois, where I'm an alum from, and they have developed in recent years a kind of niche market to get into the area of experiential learning at the undergraduate level. And through their initiatives, they started a music program in Nashville where they train young artists on the business side, the performance side, and the production side in the music industry. And the goal was to make them very marketable when they graduate from their undergraduate degree. Often it takes 5 years to get experience in the industry, and they wanted people to go out and be ready to go and work with a major recording artist. And so they created this center in Nashville. I had the opportunity to go tour that and was very impressed. They take about 30 students, and basically for a semester it's self-directed learning but very experiential, and their final exam is to go on tour, put on a production. And so it's very hands-on. That's everything from ticket sales to reserving the venues to making sure that the buses work from the tour. So it's very hands-on. And so while I was there, we had kind of this inspiration to do the same in the medical field. And because what I do at Faith Presbyterian is so kind of cross-dynamic. It seems like it's all medicine, but there's so much like social work, and there's fundraising, and there's business that goes into that. There's pastoral care. We thought that we could offer a very unique experience kind of institute in the medical field. And that was the birth of Healthcare Experience Institute Dallas.
So how did that idea translate? What elements, you're talking about music, you're talking about going on tour and the excitement of that, and I see that for a student, but does someone wake up one day and say, gosh, hospice, that's what I want to do, that's where I want to go? Or how did that idea translate than back to Faith Presbyterian?
It's a great question. So students today they want to do something that matters. They're really interested in getting into their field earlier, and we want to provide them with experiences that they don't have to gain after they graduate. So hospice is unique in that it's medicine, but it's also multidisciplinary with social work, pastoral ministries, and business, like I said. And so we can recruit students from all of those disciplines and integrate them into the healthcare arena, which transcends whether you work in a big hospital system, whether you work in hospice, whether you work in a senior living facility. The same dynamic applies. And so we feel like this is a great opportunity in a unique environment to get people close to empathy, close to the business of medicine and the healthcare that goes on, particularly at end of life.
So Dan, new to the organization,
Yes.
You're here to start this Healthcare Experience Institute. Had 3 decades of experience in education before this, most recently I believe with the University of North Texas.
Yes.
What appealed to you about this? What caused you to change courses?
Yeah, thanks for the question. So I worked in higher ed for, like you said, about 30 years, and working on the career services side, helping students prepare themselves for employment after graduating college, and preparing them for that, doing all the things necessary to gain experience while in school. And to be honest, I was a little frustrated with students that would get to their final year in college and say, I don't really know what I'm doing with my major. I don't know what you can do with this major and what's out there for me. And when this opportunity presented itself, I felt like what a great opportunity to build a program that allows students to take their education and actually put it to work at the same time. So in most higher education institutions, most students will do an internship. But to do an internship, a lot of students will leave for a semester to go do that work. And they have to bring their education from previous semesters with them. And then they come back after the internship and try and apply it back. What we're doing with this program, which I think is so unique, is allowing students to learn in the classroom, but then immediately take what they learn in the classroom and apply it in the field. And then when they're out in the field and applying it, they're going to experience things that they had never experienced before, and they're going to be able to bring those experiences back into the classroom and have discussions. And just what Michael was saying, being able to bring together medical students, social work students, counseling students, faith and business, and all discuss similar cases of the same people. I think everybody's going to learn a different perspective on how to deliver healthcare.
I'll give you a little bit of at least my personal perspective. Prior to joining Forefront Living, I had almost 3 decades of experience at the time in senior living. I probably felt that I had successfully dodged working with hospice. I had an image of hospice as something that was sad, it was focused on end of life, and it wasn't something that was joyous. When I joined Forefront, very fortunate to have our corporate offices on the campus of Boone Pickens Hospice, and 6 months later, I felt that I had really missed something in my career. I was surprised at the joy, the life, the thriving piece of the people that we serve, the dynamic piece of the people who work in the environment. I would think that the perception that I had is not an unusual perception. How do you look at somebody who's at the very beginning of a career and get them excited about hospice and help them understand really what's there in front of them? And either of you, feel free to answer the question.
Well, I think there's 2 things that are inevitable. One's birth and the other is death, right? And we celebrate birth. Culturally, we celebrate that. Culturally, we have kind of been taught through the years, and many generations believe that if you talk about it, it will happen. And so we don't address death very well. But since it's an inevitable part of life, the joy of hospice is being able to celebrate something that we know is going to happen. And through that, experience and through the ability to talk about it, engage in it, prepare for it, things go much smoother than if you don't. And so this generation of students realizes that more so than previous generations, even my generation, and particularly my parents' generation, where you didn't even talk about death. It was a taboo thing. So part of it's just as we morph into a more open society with talking about these things, it seems like a natural fit for today's students, and we're finding that they're very interested. So.
Well, and I think so many students today have the passion to help others. You see that volunteerism is up so much in college campuses, and the idea of being able to give back and help people in a time of need. There's a lot of different ways students look at that and think, oh, I want to be able to do this type of, assist this person in this time of need. But I think most people don't ever look at hospice, the end of life. It's kind of, let's avoid that at all costs. That's not what I want to deal with. But when you start to look and see what an impact faith has on their patients and their families, I think it will really speak volumes to the students that we're talking to.
So what career paths are you looking at for individuals who are interested, who would be interested in this program? What would be the profile of the student coming in and participating in the Healthcare Experience Institute?
Well, we're looking for undergraduate students first and foremost. I mean, that's what I think makes it so special, because graduate students in the professions and in graduate school get these types of experiences, but undergraduates don't have this opportunity to get this invested in healthcare. And so undergraduate students probably at a junior senior level, so they have, I'll say, the proper education coming in, but also a level of maturity. It is still going to take a mature individual to handle what they're going to deal with in this environment. But it could be a very mature sophomore or something that comes in as well. So, and then the majors that we're looking at are the biologies, the pre-meds, the nursing. So anything on the medical side, or just about anything. And then social work, psychology students are ones that I'm talking to, as well as theology, religious studies, and then any business we can work with. But I would even say it doesn't necessarily matter the major. It matters what you want to do. If you want to give back and help people in need, we probably could find an opportunity for you. We don't have engineering opportunities, but beyond that, I think any major out there that would like to help people through a tough time, I think we could do something for them.
And Dr. Bond, I know when you initially brought this idea forward to the organization, you felt that because we have the continuum that I talked about earlier, that there could be other opportunities as well for the students to interact in different parts of the organization. Can you
Absolutely.
touch on that a little bit?
Yeah, so with our partnership in senior living, there's a wealth of opportunity there to engage in all the facets that go along with senior living. And so we're positioned so well in a major metropolitan area. And we have partnerships with major hospitals in the Dallas area, big teaching hospitals that refer a lot of people to us. And so the exposure for the student to get them into those arenas it's invaluable. I also think there's a hidden gem in this whole thing. And that is that a student can come here at an undergraduate level, a junior or senior, and they may come as a pre-med student, but they may find that they're through this experience, they may find that the business of medicine is really where they need to be. And so to find that out before you get a degree in something that may not be your passion, you think it is, but it may not be, I think is the hidden gem of the whole program.
So building upon that, and if you think about an Experience Institute, and you think about college in general, you think about sitting in a classroom, talking to an instructor, and then going home and doing homework, or other things, depending on the college experience you want. But in this case, your faculty is a little bit different, and I think the day that the students would have would be a little bit different.
Absolutely.
Can you address that?
Yeah. So the faculty are all Forefront Living employees, so either from Faith or from Presbyterian Village North or even from Forefront Living Corporate. So it's practicing professionals, which I love the idea of that. Learn from people that are actually doing the work currently. They have all the up-to-date techniques and practices, and so the students are going to learn directly from them. And the idea of going to a class and going home and studying and then coming back a couple days later, that doesn't exist. You're going to go into class, but the classroom, the lecture is just one small part of it, because the classrooms are all experiential. So no matter what class they're taking, they're going to have experience built into it. They're going to actually be given assignments to go out and work with families and patients and others, even donors, and that to learn how the whole business of Faith and Forefront works.
Very good. Dr. Bond, you mentioned teaching hospitals. So how many teaching hospices are there?
0 that I know of. Yeah. So it's and it needs to be. I mean, so we are really on the cutting edge of creating something that is unique to medicine. You know, hospice wasn't even recognized as a medical specialty until about 13 years ago. But now it's recognized all over the United States and in other countries. It's been around for years, but the recognition of it has been slow. And again, it kind of goes to what I said earlier, that people are more open to even talking about the preparation for the end of life. And so we want to be there to teach. We want to be there to prepare people. And there's a huge talent pool that we need to send into the world, you know, for this type of work.
We've talked a lot about the students. We've talked about what they can expect and who they're going to be interacting with. Talk to us about the patients. What does it mean if I'm a patient at Faith Presbyterian Hospice and I'm going to be experiencing a teaching hospice? What does that mean to me or to my family?
Well, I think it means it means a different level of experience. You know, Faith is unique in that most of the inpatient units in the country don't have 20% of their patients less than 50, and we do. And part of it is our relationships with some of the big institutions. And so that is a really unique thing, to work with both kind of younger end-of-life patients as well as the older continuum, or octogenarians and older. And so that provides a whole different experience, because when you're the closer you are in age with someone who is passing, the wealth of knowledge is different that you attain. And so they'll be exposed to many different things. One of the greatest things that they'll be exposed to is family dynamics at the end of life. I always tell people, you know, treating patients at the end of life is relatively easy, but the family dynamics, processing loss, processing the death of a loved one, is the hardest work we do. And we have, our nurses are so professional and excellent at that, and navigating all the ethics and the problems that occur. It's interesting that experience should bring people closer together, and often it drives them further apart. And it's unfortunate, but we're there to kind of bridge that gap and bring them back together. And the students being exposed to that, invaluable lessons for life.
Forefront Living began its history as part of the Presbyterian Church, a mission actually of Grace Presbytery. Forefront Living is still a faith-based organization. In particular, Faith Presbyterian Hospice, a huge part of our care is our chaplaincy. Can you talk to us a little bit about the faith-based side of who we are and how this interrelates with Greenville University? I think the connection is very interesting and providential.
Yeah, I mean, Healthcare Experience Institute is a function of Greenville University, and Greenville is a Christian university, and so we're really seeking to build Christianity components into the curriculum as well. And so all kinds of things will be focused around the students' faith as well as the patient and family's faith. And you know, I know at Faith there are all kinds of different faiths that I'm saying faith a lot, but a lot of different faiths of the patients and the families. And so students will actually get a nice experience of, maybe they've been raised in a Christian family and they haven't experienced all these other religions, they're going to get a taste of that as well, no matter, again, whether they're, a ministry student or a social worker or a doctor. But yeah, it's really keeping the focus on the Christian faith is a lot of what this program is all about.
Dr. Bond?
Yeah, I think, in hospice at the end of life, I mean, spirituality and medicine is a very important part. And I always say if you're not addressing the spiritual component of the end of life or even the beginning of life, you're doing it wrong, because it's there and you have to recognize it. And I think this is an opportunity to really teach the right way and address the spiritual component that happens through all of medicine, really. And so we're excited about that, to have a faith-based organization back this program and integrate that into the learning. So
Greenville University is really the linchpin or the key element that is bringing this to life. However, students are not necessarily just from Greenville University. They are there's a coalition that Greenville belongs to, where students from the other universities can also attend this program. Can we talk about that coalition and some examples of other universities that are involved, or the students are from, rather?
Yeah, the coalition is a coalition of Christian universities, colleges and universities, CCCU, and there's over 200 of those worldwide, and I think about 180 of them in the United States. And so that's kind of our target market for students. And Greenville happens to be part of that coalition. And so we're really focusing our attention on those, but we're not limited to those schools either. We, if you have a Christian background as a student, even if you're at a public institution, we're happy to talk to you if this is something you want to get into. But it's that our focus is really on the CCCU institutions.
yeah, they're widely spread throughout the United States, and so that gives us a good target to attract students from multiple different parts of the country, ultimately with the goal of them going back to those parts of the country and being able to profess and also teach what they learn with us.
And I could tell you some of the names because I left that out.
right.
But Abilene Christian and Hardin-Simmons are both schools that I've been talking to, and Texas Wesleyan here in Dallas-Fort Worth. University of Dallas is one. Now I'm forgetting their name, but it's another Christian school here locally. But I think there are 5 schools in Dallas-Fort Worth that all belong to CCCU, and I think about 25 or so just in the state of Texas alone.
But we fully anticipate students from around the country, maybe from around the world, joining us. As CEO of Forefront Living, I'm hopeful that they like Dallas so much they decide to stay here and work at Forefront Living.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Other thoughts, Dr. Bond?
No, I think we're anxious to start our first class, and I think we've set the groundwork. We've had a lot of interest, and I think I'm anxious to see where this leads us in the next decade. As we prepare people to embrace more about hospice and our model of hospice, which I think is unique and special. And like I said, we want to show it to the world.
When do we anticipate our first students?
January of
January
2024. Yeah.
And we anticipate some of them will be traveling here, so they'll be living in the Metroplex. And
We actually have arranged for apartments right across from Faith Presbyterian Hospice. We will outfit those completely, so students will only have to bring a few of their personal items, but the apartments will be fully furnished for them, and it's a walk across the street to both classes and to their work.
to a very full and fulfilling day.
Yes.
Any final thoughts from either of you?
I'll just say, I think what we've got planned for students is going to be life-changing for them. I don't see any student walking in the door and spending any time here without walking out with an experience they'll never forget. It's going to change, hopefully, the way we educate students everywhere. I just think this is going to be so impactful for the students and their future careers.
Yeah, I would just say that this was a kind of risky proposition, I think, when we first talked, and I appreciate Tim, your willingness to take this on, as well as the board and the rest of the leadership from Forefront Living, because I really think that the best is yet to come for this program. And while it seems a little unorthodox in the educational world, that's the way education's moving, and I think we need to be there. So thank you for that.
Well, I appreciate you both joining us, and I would be remiss not to say thank you to the individuals that support Forefront Living. We're an organization that receives tremendous philanthropic support from donors. We would not have the Boone Pickens Hospice and Palliative Care Center without their support. And this program is also fundraised for and supported by the citizens of Dallas. So we thank you for your belief in us and your support, and we're eager to take another step towards the forefront. In the interim, look forward to seeing everyone again real soon. Thank you both for joining us.
Thank you.